all, and welcome to 1880 Sports Network. I'm Doug Toomer, and as always, I'm joined here with my partner, Danny Kira. It's good to see you back here, Danny, after a game on Tuesday involving the Flu Sharks and Tamiflu Bees. That's a dandy of a game, but I expect a lot of the matchup we have here tonight.
Yeah, Doug, it's great to be here again. Like you said, we got a great game the other night between two very solid groups. But tonight is a different one. We have a coveted matchup between two powerhouses looking to improve their record and potentially gain the number one seed in the playoffs next week.
You're right, Danny. These two teams have a lot on the line tonight as they look to battle for the top seed. Let's take a look at these two clubs. Danny, what do you see from the visiting team tonight, the Cancerous Cells?
Doug, I really like this team's ability to spread the puck around and basically migrate into any area that they want. They do a good job in multiplying their intensity to really divide and conquer their opponents. Specifically, this Cancerous Cell team will look to attack the immune system of the defense tonight and cause some issues to arise. These issues include mantle cell lymphoma, lymphocytic leukemia, and chronic graft versus host disease, as well as numerous other complications. We look for them to spread out tonight and attack the enzymes in order to multiply their numbers.
I agree with you, Danny. This team really does have great depth and can cause a ton of problems for their opponent. I can see them getting deep in the zone and infecting the other team. Another big thing for this Cancerous Cells team is going to be the symptoms they cause. What can you say about that, Danny?
That's a great question. This Cancerous Cells team can cause a variety of symptoms, but it depends on the line that's on the ice. They have multiple lines that can cause different types of cancer, but the one we will focus on tonight is the first line. This line attacks white blood cells and causes mantle cell lymphoma. Some symptoms of mantle cell lymphoma include loss of appetite and weight, fatigue, and swollen lymph nodes. This type of cancer is aggressive and it causes death in many cases.
Yes, Danny, that is a dangerous group to mess with. Not to mention the second and third line are also very talented groups that can also cause some issues for the other teams. Let's talk stats for a minute with this Cancerous Cells team. They're a group with some decent numbers on the year. While the mantle cell lymphoma is typically sporadic, it has an incidence of 1 out of every 200,000 people and is more common in men with the median age around 60 to 70 years old. Chronic lymphocytic leukemia is estimated to affect 21,500 people and cause around 4,000 deaths. Waldenstrom's is more rare and only has an incidence rate of 3 cases per 1 million people, which is about 1,000 to 1,500 infected people per year. The average 5-year survival rate is around 78%, but with high-risk people, the survival rate drops to 36%. Nonetheless, the average survival length is 8 years. I don't know about you, but those are some intimidating stats from all 3 lines. Now let's talk about the home team, the mighty Ibrutinib inhibitors. These guys are competitive. They always are in the game and looking to make an impact. These kinase inhibitors look to rely on their defense to block the action of abnormal proteins that signal cancer cells to multiply. This ultimately stops the spread of cancer. The main goal of this team all year has been to clean up the slack left from previous medications or treatments that could not get the job done. Their energy is purely irreversible.
Hard not to like this team either, Doug. They work hard and don't really have any egos. They inhibit the function of Bruton's tyrosine kinase, which plays a role in the survival of malignant B cells. Ibrutinib blocks signals that stimulate malignant B cells to grow and divide uncontrollably.
What I like best about this matchup is how one is dominant offensively and the other is strong defensively. It really is going to be about who has the best game plan coming into tonight and how these teams have prepared for one another.
Absolutely. Speaking of game plans, let's send it down to Peter React, who is going to take us through a illustration of what we can expect to see in this matchup.
Thank you, guys. I got to speak with the inhibitor's star player, the goalie Ibrutinib. It is now pictured on the screen. As you can see, most sections of Ibrutinib accept protons. Ibrutinib works as a competitive inhibitor. Being that it is very selective, this inhibitor will target the Bruton's tyrosine kinase enzyme in cancer cells only. This irreversibly prevents any other substrates from binding to the same active site of the BTK enzyme. The inhibitor's plan is to bind to BTK by selectively attaching to its active sites at tyrosine 223 and tyrosine 551. They do this by a multitude of non-covalent interactions, including hydrogen bonding, pi-pi interactions, and hydrophobic interactions. The cancer cells will utilize a growth factor to bind to the B cell receptor on the outside of the cell, and this will send a signal to trigger the BTK enzyme. If the cancer cells can successfully trigger the BTK enzyme, the kinase will signal the cell to grow and divide, thus creating more cancer cells. If the inhibitors can bind to this active site first, they will effectively prevent this from happening and the cell will eventually die. I asked the Inhibitors coach to take me through their team strategy today at the press conference, and he seems pretty confident that they're going to come out on top in this matchup.
We knew that these Cancer Cell boys will come out really strong, and in a way, it feels like we've been preparing for years to fight them, really. We've been doing hours and hours of testing and trials to make sure we could hit them where it hurts, Bruton's tyrosine kinase. Our competitive inhibitor ace, Ibrutinib, ensures that the Cancer Cell boys will struggle with communicating within the B cell. If we can make sure to competitively block their signaling, we predict imminent death for the Cancer Cell boys. We know that their two active sites in the rink are tyrosine 223 and tyrosine 551. So if we can get Ibrutinib to squeeze within their sites, we can block signaling in the cell. And then from there, it's just game, set, match. Thank you.
The coach of the Inhibitors sure does seem optimistic about this one. Well, that just about does it for our pregame show. The starting lineups have been announced, and now we're going to take it to Fergie for the national anthem.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly wave at the twilight